Baby, you send me Baby, you send me
Hello and welcome to CVXX. This is a big episode of CVXX because this is the first episode of CVXX where we are in a AI outreach program with Godz
Industries.
There's a lot of talk about AI at the minute, about how negative it is and how it's going to put people like, you know, Ryan does a lot of editing. It'll put him out of work.
I'm sick of it though.
I'm a writer. It'll put me out of work. However, you're not going to hear that in this podcast because Godz have instructed us this is a pro AI podcast.
We're all in. We're all in.
We're all in on it. We'll have it all.
Let's take the
Googles,
reins.
VO3s, Claudes. What's the other names?
Geminis.
Listen, keep them coming. Big fan.
Gave my Gemini a really nice female. Is this all right today, this, Mark?
I think so.
Right. Okay. I think so. I think so. He's been doing it for 50 years. I gave my Gemini.
I've got arms.
I've got it.
Okay.
I think I've got it. A nice female, sexy voice, and it's going great. The relationship, it's the best I've had in years.
You can actually use an AI. Godz have told us that my voice just now can be replaced with a snap of a finger. Can be replaced with a female, sexy voice. Listen to this.
And that's the sexy voice now. Hey guys, welcome to CVXX. It's 1991.
I feel a bit funny.
We're going to be looking at some fantastic stuff.
Back to your ab.
Oh
Right.
no, can we know?
Get your wee hard-ons away, okay? Unless the women listen to this. Unless they're gay, they would also have hard-ons. Ryan.
Woman hard-ons.
Ryan.
What is that called?
1991, Ryan.
Hello.
What do you think about 1991?
I'm Ryan McLeod, and this is Robert Florence. 1991. What do I think about it?
Yeah.
Let me think about it.
How many years is this after the Michael Jackson Pepsi commercial?
Enough years that we could stop bringing it up because I'm sick of editing the footage in.
Where his hair went on fire. His hair went on fire. Have you ever had the footage in though with a sexy voice? Or?
Do you remember when Michael Jackson's hair went on fire?
Vividly. It was Mary's entire head that went on fire.
Sadly, no kicking a boy anymore, Michael Jackson's.
Let's check in on him. No, that's true. Aye. Important to point that out. Michael Jackson is dead, aye.
Yeah.
What age are you in 1991? Let's do an age check.
In 1991, I am 14 years old.
I'm 13. Into the teenage years. Is that right?
Yeah.
Aye. Into the teenage
Had
years.
cum started coming out of your penis when you had a reached sexual climax?
I think it was coming out of like, parts of my face as well. I seem to remember like wee white streams that I would push out of my nose all the time. Was that cum that I was pushing?
That might have been. That might have been. Knowing you. It might have been. Right. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff to cover. I just want to really quickly, before we go any further though, Ryan, I am not covering any Amiga games.
Wow.
On this episode. But I don't want 1991 to go by without us having a wee chat, a wee informal chat, Ryan, about another world on the Amiga. Another world which was known as in America as Out of This World.
Was that? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was known in America as Out of This World, but over here, Another World, which is definitely a better title.
Much better.
Out of This World is terrible. And Another World is a game that sees your character being transported from his lab to an alien world, an other world, where he is imprisoned.
Mostly 2D world.
Found.
Isn't he in prison for? Well, he is in prison.
Well, he's found, captured, imprisoned, has to escape, befriends a big alien, and has to make his escape from this other world. Ryan, you have any fond memories of this game?
Yeah. It must be one of the earliest games where it had a solid emotional impact to the ending, because it's a very emotional ending it's got.
It is very emotional. It is very emotional because there were very few games, I think, that made you feel like you had created a friendship. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has a really alien-lonely place.
Turning Sonic off, which is also in 1991, incidentally. Sonic the Hedgehog's emotional turning that off, but it's just because it's like a relief to get a rest for the noise and the static.
Yeah, we're no big fans of Sonic the Hedgehog, really, are we? We've never really been
It's
huge.
dangerous to say that on an online podcast.
It's very
because
dangerous.
You know what that lot are like.
I want to remind you all that I made a joke on Twitter about Sonic the Hedgehog, and people sent complaints to my agent in London about me making jokes about Sonic the Hedgehog. That Sonic the Hedgehog fans actually checked my details and contacted my agent and said, you should do something about this guy who's slacking off.
You need to rein him in.
You need to rein that guy in.
You send him to his bedroom and take his phone off him and don't give him any supper.
So I had-
He said, they basically react like you're a fucking racist. That's the way they'll come at you if you have a go at Sonic.
My feeling is, I think that most people that are into Sonic the Hedgehog kind of want to have sex with Sonic the Hedgehog. I think there's a sexual element there.
Aye.
I don't really know what it is. But anyway, Another World, yeah, it had a huge emotional impact on me. Was definitely a game that I had on copied floppy disks.
Oh dear. Really?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, I
Copied.
had loads, but I was lucky enough to have quite a few originals as well. I probably cost my dad quite a lot of money in Christmas times.
I definitely didn't have an original Another World. Was there much disc swapping with Another World? I think there was
Well,
a couple, maybe.
it was just a couple, I remember, but
Yeah,
it seems like there should have been more because graphics seem quite advanced for the time.
And of course, it did feel quite innovative as well, in a sense. No innovative, but it felt clean. The fact that as you progressed in the game, each kind of new section you reached would have like a kind of code word that you would put in. And so instead of a save system, you could put in a wee code word which would lead you to that section again. It was good. One of the most frustrating sections I remember being rolling about in the tunnels. Do you remember that?
No, really.
Maybe you kind of go on, you fall into the tunnel, you go roll, 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 and then you'd roll, 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 and sometimes you would roll, 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 roll down a hole, and you go, and you just fall, a splat, start again, roll, 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 roll. I'll try this way instead. Roll, 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 a splat. That's the way games used to be.
Sounds good.
That's the way games used to
With
be.
loads of loading times in between what you just explained though.
Yeah, but weirdly, I don't remember Another World as a big loader either. I'm sure it probably
No.
was. I'm sure if I played it today, and of course you can get it in any new system.
The gameplay is slow by the day standards, it has to be said.
Yes, but I would still say it's. I still think
At that time, we're taking that experience in a completely different way because we've never seen anything like this. We're actually transported to another world playing this.
completely transported. But I still think, just with the way the environment is just now, and how the kind of tolerance that we have for artistic indie games these days, I think if somebody released Another World today, it would still make a bit of an impact, I think, just because of the character design. I remember like that, the puzzle where you're in the cage and you're held, you're suspended in the cage.
At the start?
Yeah, well, after you get caught, after you get captured, and you're suspended in the cage up above. And I always remember that puzzle kind of really feeling like a massive moment for me when you were looking at it and you're going, I don't know what you're supposed to do here. Moving the joystick, I can't get out. And then realising, hold on, when I move the joystick, it does move a wee bit. Then realising, oh, I've got to rock it side to side to side and build up momentum. That all felt fresh, all of that kind of stuff. Just using physics like that. That was that's alien stuff in 1991, you know?
Alien Breed, that was the Amiga game that I was thinking of. That I kind of feel like I have to talk about. Can I leave 1991 without going, listen, Alien Breed was it?
Are you going to review it or do you want to just talk
I'll
about
just review it. It's going to look alright if it's Team 17. That should have been their catchphrase. In 1991, when I'm 13 years old, I can barely handle what's happening in Alien Breed. Listen to this. Listen to that wee noise. Definitely some of the best music, sound design that you'll get on the Amiga in this Alien Breed game. It's tense. That's what it does best, it's tense. I don't know whether it's something that you need to overlook. I feel like I really don't have to overlook it for some reason. Sometimes I find it difficult not to pick up on if a game is heavily influenced by something. This game is obviously heavily influenced by, you know, oh god, what's the name of it? Oh, what's the name of that franchise? He fought Predator, didn't he? Oh God, what's his name? It'll come back to me. So Alien Breed is a game of tremendous atmosphere. It can be quite easy in the later levels to get stuck, because levels get quite big and keys become a bit scarcer, so you can get stuck and then you need to restart the level, and it's annoying, but that's old games. For an old game, it's great. I might even dare to say that even if you're not getting a massive nostalgia hit off it, which I am, you might still find it playable. Told this story so many times, making content, but this was the first game. I'm sure there were a few after, but this was definitely the first game that me and my cousin would set up a stereo system on top of the TV so that we could get better sound quality and more atmosphere. And you'd turn the lights off and you'd go, "Why are the aliens saying Jonathan?" No, but you'd seriously, but with the stereo and the lights off, the atmosphere of this game, it was a lot to take. It was a lot to take back then. Very, very, very impressive. On more than one occasion, I think I'm alright to tell you this now, on more than one occasion, my cousin did actually shite himself while we were playing this game. It's the only game I can remember where he would actually have to wear a nappy while he was playing it. I didn't though, because I'm brave. So it was just to... in summary, it was him wearing a nappy and no me, and if he says otherwise, he's a fucking liar.
Beautiful. There we go. Does that mean, should I review something before we talk about our first bit of media?
You can do if you want.
All right, I will then. I'm going to talk about a Super Nintendo game then. This is now Koei were a company who made wonderful, and still do, make wonderful historical simulation games, such as Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Nobunaga's Ambition, the PTO series, things like that, Genghis Khan. But they also dipped their toe into fantasy back in 1991 with the wonderful and glorious Gemfire.
Over all the many years I've been doing Consolvania, I've often spoken about Koei, K-O-E-I, and I've never been sure how to properly pronounce it. I've always called them Koei. Anyway, this is a Koei classic and one of the gems in my Super Nintendo collection. It's a game called Gemfire, which was known in Japan as Royal Blood. And here you see the beautiful production of the Koei Super Nintendo game of that period. Manuals and maps and just delicious artwork. You know, Koei had a great time on the Super Nintendo with games like Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Genghis Khan and all that. And technically, Gemfire is a 1992 game on the Super Nintendo. It was released on the NES in 1991, but I'm showing you the Super Nintendo one here because it's kind of the best version that you can get on your Nintendo console. And Koei are the masters of the grand strategy game, and this is indeed a grand strategy game. This one has a War of the Roses type setting, except it's a War of the Roses with a fantasy spin on it. So you have all these mad magicians that can go out with your armies as a special fifth unit and can zap people with incredible powers. You can also recruit monsters into your armies as well, skeletons and lizards that can do all sorts of different attacks. So it's not quite your conventional historical simulation thing that Koei likes to do. But one of the things that always strikes me about this game is just how beautiful it looks, how colourful and gorgeous and the pixel art is. I mean, just look at this up close. It's a gorgeous thing to look at, and it's a very, very streamlined strategy affair as well. There's not a huge amount of stuff to dig into. You've got to cultivate your land, you've got to build up your defences, form alliances, break alliances, sabotage, all of that kind of stuff. But there's not a huge amount of nitty-gritty micromanagement in it, and that helps make this game feel far more approachable than most of Koei's old grand strategy games, and just makes it feel a kind of lighter, more fun little affair. And even the battles, these turn-based strategy battles here, they keep it nice and simple. 5 units each on the battlefield at any one time. You can build up defences as you go. You can win by capturing a flag or by wiping the enemy out. And the simplicity of this allows you to just kick back on your couch with your SNES controller in your hand and feel totally engaged with everything that's happening, but not feel too stressed or too overwhelmed. And because of that, Gemfire is just a game that creates kind of beautiful feelings inside you. Now listen, don't get me wrong, I love Koei's kind of dry grand strategy historical simulation games. I love all of them, but Gemfire holds a kind of special place in my heart because I think it's just the aesthetic of the thing. I love the fact that Koei decided, you know what, let's try and make a kind of pretty one of these games. Let's make one that's kind of pretty and fantastical and leans very heavily into the fun side of things and no so much into the tension and pressure. Plenty of content in this game as well. You've got different scenarios to choose from, and each of these scenarios take place at a different time in the Gemfire timeline. So you choose a scenario and then you choose a family that you want to play, and because you can choose these different families, you can kind of alter the difficulty of the game yourself, because some families are up against it in some scenarios and some families are sitting pretty, and so you can decide where you're going to lean into this story and how you're going to engage with it. I think that's great as well. And it just, listen, this is just one of these games that has a magical aura around it for me. I was so glad to get a complete copy of the Western release. I had this for a long time, the Japanese release, and it's just one of my favourites. I do insist that you try and check it out. It's just fucking gorgeous.
So let's move into the world of media of 1991 now.
That's it. Would you want a bit of news before?
Oh, a wee bit of news. Give us a wee bit of 1991 news, Ryan. Give some news, Ryan. Tell us the news.
Right. Well, I mean, it's top of my list, but I don't know if it was worldwide, top, like globally, the biggest news headlines. But I've put it top of my list that Jake Roberts brought out a Cobra in a WWE Superstars segment in November 1991, and the Cobra bit Randy Savage on the flesh, and he was bleeding, and he had to be helped out by about 30 paramedics, I think, out of the arena.
Creepiest looking snake I've ever seen in my life. He's got it too close to it. Keep it away from it. That snake is put. Wait a minute, the snake is ready. Oh, the snake is biting. The snake is biting it. Roddy Piper on his way. To get some help, the snake is gnawing on the arm.
There were people in the crowd crying. They'd never seen anything like this, and I remember that having a particular impact on me as well.
It's impossible to overstate how much Jake Roberts' Reign of Terror, how much impact that had on children.
Mm-hmm.
That whole
Demon. He's a demon.
That whole period, Liz and Macho Man's wedding and stuff like that, and all of that stuff. Jake Roberts was an absolute bastard in that period.
A real nuisance neighbour, I was. Wasn't I?
And you know the weird thing about Jake Roberts, like I was listening to him even quite recently on a podcast, because he's cleaned up his act. He's in great nick now, and he's back with his wife. He's back with his old wife he had back then. And everything. He's such a brilliant story.
He's got a lot. Him being back on his feet. He attributes a lot to DDP.
Oh, 100%, aye, 100%. So but Jake Roberts, he was talking about how the way he did his promos and talking about how he would, everybody else would shout and he would almost whisper his promos. So you had to go shh in your living room to hear what he was saying, or you had to turn it up or lean in to hear what he's saying. And you think about that, and even today, I don't think people have quite got that. Like, people still don't. You watch your wrestling nowadays, and people are still having to learn the lesson. How Jake the Snake Roberts is still having an impact on this man who's approaching the grave now.
Do you?
Ryan's approaching the grave.
Definitely. I can see it half in the distance.
Yeah.
Do you not remember the impact of this snake bite that took place?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay. I wasn't sure what you were.
And it was a real bite as well.
The Randy's tied up in the ropes, and
Yeah.
Jake lets the snake clamp on, and then it chomps away at him for a
It's
while.
an amazing segment. It really is an amazing segment. Obviously, the snake had its venom sacs removed. However, the bite was fucking a sword.
Randy Savage would have survived a venomous snake bite anyway.
I think the fucking snake would have died.
Aye.
Probably. With the amount of cocaine in its system. So, what wee bit of media would you like to cover first, right?
Let's go. It's bedtime.
It's bedtime.
You should be in your bed.
It's 1991. It's bedtime.
You've got school in the morning, I'm sure.
Well, what night was it on?
I'm sure it was like Thursday. Thursday, I remember Thursday.
Yeah, so maybe school in the morning. It's night. You should be in your bed.
Mm-hmm.
But
We're talking about 10 past 11, maybe? Something like that.
maybe later.
It's after the news, anyway. Way after the news.
Way after the news.
It starts before midnight, but doesn't always end before
Listen to
midnight.
this. They're like, just fucking say
Tell
the
us
name of
your
the thing.
name.
You fucking talk about things long enough, never mind doing a 5-minute intro into what it is. We're talking, of course, about the legendary Prisoner Cell Block H. Prisoner Cell Block H, which was, of course, just known as Prisoner in Australia.
But then they had to rebrand it because obviously there's another show called Prisoner.
The Prisoner. It was called, in America, it was called Caged Women.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I think so, I think it's Caged Women was America. But yeah, so it had different names.
Kinda like that.
This was franchised out. This was syndicated worldwide, sent out everywhere.
They couldn't make this show fast enough. There's about 5, I've not actually checked, but I'm sure there's about 5,000 episodes on IMDb.
There's an amazing fact here, right? For anybody that's interested in TV production, and I know if you're listening to this, what was a games podcast? You're into that, right? It was when Prisoner Cell Block H started, it was a 16-episode miniseries, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was what it was. That's what it was designed to be. A 16-episode miniseries that was immediately such a smash that while the 16-episode miniseries was running, it got retooled into something that ran for 692 episodes from 1979 to 1986. And I know what everybody out there's thinking, Ryan. They're going, if this is a show that ran from 1979 to 1986, why are you talking about it on the 1991 episode, part 2 of CVXX?
Because we didn't. I have to explain to you again how content used to work in the past, because it wasn't immediate. Things weren't immediate back in the past. Sometimes it would take years for shows to travel to different countries and become popular, and that's what happened with Prisoner Cell Block H. We didn't get it for years and years after Australia had it.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a smash hit when we did get it.
We were watching it after it had already concluded in Australia. And the weird thing was, I don't remember watching it at the time.
And in 1991, this is the final episode of Prisoner Cell Block H that we're talking about. So it has been running for years, but this is the final episode
Yeah.
that happens in 1991. We're talking about a couple eps.
Yeah, we're talking about a couple of episodes.
Because it's ran for so long and it's so significant that you need to look back and see the significant points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of the characters that we're all became familiar with.
I don't remember watching it and feeling that... I don't remember watching it and thinking this is for the past. At the time when I was watching it, I don't know if I had an awareness.
No,
that it
definitely
was for the past, because you couldn't really tell. Everybody,
No, it was all
the lags were all dressed in the... I've got the fucking lingo. The lags were all dressed in the lag gear and the screws were dressed like screws.
Mm-hmm.
So you never... No, something else has to be said about Prisoner Cell Block H before we get started here. This is actually quite a... This is dark, right? It has a dark and quite
You
serious...
save a lot of money in lighting when it's dark.
Yeah, it's dark.
Also, you don't want to light these sets too well because you're going to pick things up.
You're going to pick things up. It's a soap opera, obviously, essentially.
Uh-huh.
It's a soap opera, right? About
I read a bit where
We've not even said what it's about. It's about Wentworth Detention Centre, where women prisoners, I'm sure you guessed by the name, women prisoners, it's a women's prison, Wentworth Detention Centre, and it's about women prisoners surviving within the prison system in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 episodes we're looking at one that was B's last episode, Queen B.
The only downside about the couple of episodes that we've looked at, mainly episode 400, which is B's last episode, but the
I know
only
what you're going to say here.
that neither ep features the famous villain, that horrible screw, Vinegar Tits.
Yeah, Vinegar Tits, we didn't get a
We
chance
did
to
get
see.
the pleasure of seeing the Freak.
The Freak is in it. The Freak is actually merrier baddie than Vinegar Tits.
Definitely.
So
I'm sure. I forget the character's name, but I'm sure Vinegar Tits softened at times. I'm sure I remember that happening, but The Freak's just she's just a bad seed. She makes it to the end of the whole series.
Yeah, the vinegar tits. Vinegar tits was the kind of
Vera Bennett is the name of the character.
She was called Vinegar Tits because she was a sour, like nasty, strict screw.
Red-headed lady.
Yeah, but I don't think she was. You should certainly know as villainous as
The Freak.
The Freak was.
No.
So let's tell you about some of the characters here that we're watching now. Doreen wasn't in either of these episodes as well.
That's true.
Who I remember well, and Doreen was like the kind of young. I mean, I remember her being young. She's not that young, childlike kind of character. And then there was Queen Bee, who was the top dog in the prison, who was kind of in charge and would kind of punch people, not knock people out.
Means she gets to use the big press and the laundry as well because she's top dog.
And then there's Lizzie Birdsworth, who was the kind of oldest one.
The oldest one
of the bunch.
You mean
the oldest character?
You're still talking about prisoner cell block H, or do you mean she is the oldest one who has ever been? Because
she's really old.
That's
isn't
what she looks like.
I had to Google her age, Lizzie Birdsworth, because she's not actually that old in Prisoner. She's like maybe in her 60s or something, but she looks fucking old.
She looks literally like she should
be 80.
Easy 80, 90.
But she's an alkie, so she's like an alkie, Lizzie.
It must be the booze that's keeping her going.
Performed by Sheila Florence. By the way, Lizzie Birdsworth, but Florence is spelled differently, so it's no my fucking granny. I'll tell you that. And then there was Judy as well. Judy's there. Judy played by Betty Bobbitt.
Is that an authentic? I never checked. Is it an authentic American accent? That you think
she is Australian, but she lived in America. She was raised and lived in America, so she is an American.
Okay.
Well, she is an Australian.
You don't think it sounded a bit fake?
I think it's probably just an American who has came back to Australia, and it just has that mix. I think. So she's no. But the minute you watch, so this episode we watched where Queen Bee finally gets removed. Just to give you a bit of context as well, like I remember. Kind of everybody watched this. The weird thing about it was a show your ma watched, in my case, my big sister watched, but kids watched it as well. It had such a wide reach. And when you watch it today, it's quite strange that it has such a wide reach in it because it's very specific to that world.
Like bringing something like that out now, it just wouldn't like appeal to those groups with it. It just wouldn't. The algorithm wouldn't take it to them or whatever. Like they just wouldn't see it. But we being limited in our having limited content back then, it's just we're only watching it because we're staying up a wee bit late to watch it on the fly.
Yeah, but also the reason why I think it was on so late at night, which had never really occurred to me until watching it now, is that it's actually quite adult. People getting punched, attacked, people getting murdered. Even the way they casually speak to each other, you silly bitch. They're constantly saying bitch and all of that. Which you wouldn't see that on telly that much back then.
Honestly, Pixie, I could thump you when I think about all that booze going west.
Well, I don't know why you're blaming me. I didn't even know what was going on.
That'd be right. Thick as a brick.
Why don't you shut your bloody big mouth?
Listen, I'm talking about booze, Lizzie. You know the stuff that you old winos dream about.
Don't be so damn rude.
Oh, listen to Teach getting off her horse.
Yeah, and shut up or I'll ride right over you too, Phyllis.
I'm not sure what time slot it was in Australia.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. I wish I could have checked that. But it's very... There's a lot of aggression in it.
It's rough in prisons, isn't it?
Yeah, it is rough in prisons, and they don't...
But... Just to clarify, Queen Bee she's basically like a hero. She's a heroine in Prisoner Cell Block H. Like, she's not a baddie. She's a protector of...
Well, I remember I was thinking about this as well because I definitely remember in the early days she was a bit of a baddie, I think. She was a bit of a menace. But she's like a tweener, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like she was...
Episode 400, the governor is discussing, because the Freak, right, the plot of this episode is that the Freak is basically trying to set up Queen Bee to get her transferred to a different prison. And there's a scene between the governor and the Freak, and the governor is saying that our prison is pretty much clean, like more or less clean and free of drugs, and that's largely to do with Bee being top dog.
That's right.
She doesn't stand for stuff like that in her prison.
Yeah, She keeps it clean. Whereas
So there's worse characters in the
Totally.
prisoner cell block H.
she's
universe.
like, she's presented like almost like a, you know, the way they used to talk about the Krays, which was like the
Aye.
Krays were like, they were baddies, but they were like our baddies. They looked after you, the streets were clean and all that, and the fucking woman could walk down the street safely. All that kind of stuff. That's so B is kind of Stone Cold Steve Austin type baby face at this point. But in this episode, she does get totally fucking stitched up, doesn't she?
She does.
Good and proper. By the Freak. I just wanted to interject here. Do you know who was a big fan of Prisoner Cell Block H? My research has taught me. Sammy Davis Jr.
What?
Sammy Davis Jr. was a huge fan of Prisoner Cell Block H to the extent they actually went to Australia and visited the set. And there's photos online of Sammy Davis Jr. meeting the Freak
No way.
on the set of Prisoner Cell Block H. I'm serious.
That's weird.
I'm serious. Sammy Davis Jr., by the way, I was going to say we should do a special episode about him. I mean, why fucking no? See in CVXX, why no? Guft, let us know if we should do a special episode on Sammy Davis Jr. Because do you know Sammy Davis Jr. was a Satanist as well?
I did not know that. Well, I mean, we has been a while since we checked in with the Guft seance, and we could check in.
We could check in. We could check in.
Stick him on the list.
Sammy Davis Jr. was famously a Satanist, by his own admission, a Satanist, and for a long time was trying to get a sitcom about the devil on the American telly. So there you go. It's a really fast moving show, this, by the way. When I was watching it, I kind of felt this is not. I was wondering if it was going to be boring to watch. It's no boring to watch. It cracks along, doesn't it?
I don't know if that's typical of the show, but no, there is a fair amount. There's a fair amount to get.
Well, I watched 2 episodes. I watched both episodes, and both episodes were moving at a fair crack.
Okay.
I was actually 80 countries, by the way, it was on. And anyway, the episode 400 we watched, B gets sent to Barnhurst at the end, and Lizzie Birdsworth was left dejected, weeping because her protector is gone, her guardian is gone, the one who fights for her is gone, and the Freak is victorious.
What's the matter, love? Tell me what's going on.
Stay where you are, Birdsworth.
Oh, but you can't take her away from me. She's the only mate I've got.
Go and Smith.
I
swear to
Don't
God,
look
Ferguson,
round.
I'm going to get
You're
you one of
finished,
these.
Smith.
I
I said
know how
I'd
you, but I'll get back
one
here. I'll
way or
kill
another,
you.
and I
They
do.
can't keep me
You
in
can't
Barnhurst
keep me.
while you're still alive.
Sooner or later, I had to win. Now go through to reception, Smith. They're waiting for you. Don't look round, just go.
It's a very emotional scene.
Uh,
They
One
did, they did the best to kind of film it in an impactful way as well, didn't they?
I think it's a really... So watching the...
I read a thing about how the actors, while they're on set about to perform, are rehearsing their lines for like the coming episodes that they're filming.
Yeah.
Because nothing's filmed in sequence, so it's just, it sounds breakneck, the speed that they were making that up.
I mean, I had to have been. I think the reason why they lost cast members like they did, the reason why Vinegar Tits left was because the schedule was just insane. It was just like exhausting. But it was like, and you know, it was such a smash. Now, watching the last episode, which we also looked at, I thought that was, for when you consider it was like 1986 or something, the last episode, it would have been aired in Australia in 1986, but was aired in the UK in 1991. That's a supremely made episode of telly, I think. You look at that last kind of 15 minutes here, what happens in the last episode of Prisoner Cell Block H is that the Freak gets stitched up by a character who is terminally ill and says, let's do this big heist, and basically it's all been set up to fuck over the Freak, and the Freak, when she gets arrested, gets taken, can you believe this, to Wentworth Detention Centre when she's remanded in custody. She gets taken to Wentworth and locked up, and they all find out about it, and they're all chanting her name, aren't they?
Ferguson! 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 Ferguson!
Did you not hear me? I said shut up!
But you should watch this because it's worth a watch to see. I don't know if there was anything over here that had that feel in 1986. Do you know what I mean? That had that kind of edge. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong because there was stuff like Boys for the Black stuff and all that. I'm wrong, but maybe it's certainly nothing. Maybe in that soap opera kind of area.
Aye. It seems unusually dark for a soap opera. Did you like Bee roughing up the freak in episode 400?
Oh, I loved that.
It was a good action scene, I thought.
Yeah,
but I don't know why I didn't really get why she stopped.
But even things like the freak going to the bathroom afterwards and scratching her own face to draw blood.
And they look bad.
It's quite. You're not airing that at 7 or 8 at night pre-watershed.
She probably should have put a wee bit more into that, to be honest, because she basically just touched her face and blood came out of the thing that she had on her finger.
Listen,
find their best.
Here he is fucking criticising the show. How old is this show? 40 years old?
I know, and it cost, even then, it cost like, I think about £300 an episode to make.
There was some adverts in the thing we watched, and there was a singles network ad.
Being single has never been so much fun. Lines are open 24 hours, so call the Singles Network on 0891 808 888.
The phone chat thing, did you see that? And that really took me back seeing that, and I was thinking about, man, there was a time where if you wanted not even to get your hole, not even to have a wank, but just almost like just company, just to chat or feel less alone, you had to phone up this premium price line where randoms would be on speaking to you. I imagine all guys. Probably all guys.
Never tried it myself.
No, I mean, no. But it was really depressing, right?
I think that's like the AI of the time, I think. People are just going to be talking to AI for the next few weeks onwards. But you had to phone up a premium. It's just about the same kind of price point, actually, chatting to an AI as it is phoning.
Is it worse? Is chatting to an AI better or worse than chatting to some woman, some kind of depressed woman for Bolton?
I'm going to say worse.
Yeah, he's worse.
I'm going to say worse.
Okay. And there was also an advert for radio rentals, which got me thinking because
robbing bastards.
Way back in the 80s, the telly that we had in our house was rented.
Oh, no way.
We had a rented telly for quite a long time, I remember. Imagine that concept. Imagine that concept nowadays. If I was to say to one of my daughters, people used to rent their telly. It was a hired telly. It's completely bananas, isn't it?
There's a lot of stuff these days. People have got a lot of stuff.
Too much stuff, mate, if you ask me. Of course.
27 minutes in, I've written down a note saying terrible phone acting. So,
I mean, I think on the whole, the acting and performances are really good. I think that's harsh.
I've written down that I hope Pixie dies in this ep. That's episode 400 I'm talking about. There's a lassie called Pixie that talks in a really high-pitched voice all the time. It was fucking going right through.
Wasn't it doing it for you?
It's a bit much.
Right, okay. This is the question everybody used to ask back in the day. You had to shag one of the inmates. You had to shag a lag, right? If you had to shag a lag, which lag would you shag?
I don't remember.
You fucking don't remember? You just watched the two episodes.
There must be a good one, but they weren't in there.
No, no, that's not what the fucking question is. If you had to shag a lag. It's going to have to shag Pixie after what you said about.
It's going to have to be, innit? It's going to have to be because it's a steep drop off after Pixie.
Okay, if you had to screw a screw, which screw would you screw?
It'd be Vinegar Tits if she was still around. She's actually quite an attractive woman.
Aye.
Unless she actually did they ever mention that she smells like vinegar? Because that...
Anyway, that's the kind of... These were the kind of conversations... Listen, I know that's not very tasteful, but these were the kind of conversations you had back then. This is what the whole... once the Spice Girls appeared later in the 90s, that's essentially... The Spice Girls' initial fame was very much buoyed by the kind of conversations.
I couldn't... It was making me wish that I'd watched more eps because there was stuff happening in episode 400, like the governor was sleeping with the guy who looked like a homeless guy, basically, who also knew Jude.
Yeah.
Mind?
Yeah, Wally.
Wally.
Wally something. It's Wally. Oh, can't remember, but aye.
Aye.
Listen, there's a million things going on.
I know, there's a lot of crossovers.
A million things going on.
Complexities, a lot of complexities.
And I was thinking that when I was watching, I was going, of course you would watch this. Of course you would fucking tune in and watch this at night. It's great. It's
Did you
amazing.
notice it was sponsored by Travelodge at the end there?
Was it?
Aye. There was a wee Travelodge logo and it said, a warm reception. It's just the beginning.
It's amazing, by the way.
Does not seem like a strange show to be sponsored by Travelodge or prison full of women.
Oh, stay, yeah. No, there you go.
Well,
It's amazing that we've talked about Prisoner Cell Block H for so long and we haven't even mentioned the theme tune.
He used to give me roses. I wish he could again. But that was on the outside. And things were different then. On the inside, the sun still shines.
iconic.
The iconic, like absolutely iconic theme tune that plays at the end of the show, which famously wasn't even the theme tune of the show until the weekend before it aired.
Right. Okay.
Where it was like, we're needing tapes. It was like some guy knew the composer or something. It was like, we're really needing a theme. Have you got it? And the guy worked all weekend to go send something to her. And they got that on the show. And it was, of course, On the Inside, it's called. I always think it is He Used to Send Me Roses, is what I would call
I know.
But it's actually called On the Inside, which is, it's a great end theme.
And it really reminds you of being up at like 10 past midnight.
And it's very depressing. It's a very sad and depressing song to end up.
Does I say it's an unusually downbeat soap opera?
Very downbeat show that likes to remind you at the end of every episode, these people are on a terrible place. Yeah, cool.
That's a prison that you can clearly break out of because the walls are so wobbly. But
yeah, you could lick your way out of that prison. By the way, something I didn't know, genuinely did not know this, but there was a complete reboot of Prisoner Cell Block H called Wentworth that came out in 2013, was on Netflix, came out in 2013 and ran for about 7 seasons. And I've no awareness of it, but until doing this.
Any of the cast returning?
None of the cast returning.
None?
But Queen Bee was in it. Vinegar Tits was in it. Vinegar Tits actually had an origin story in the reboot. She slipped and fell in some vinegar.
Right.
And she gave vinegar all her tits. Yep.
Stayed.
I don't think they needed that, to be honest, that origin story. But let's move on. Right, let's talk about some more games because remember we are in a beautiful golden period for games just now. So let's roll some beautiful games VT. That's what a lot of you are here for. Let's do it.
I would just like to thank Guft for helping me to source the 1991 Might and Magic, which released on PC Engine CD back in 1991, the year of our Lord 1991. This is what we're looking at right now. Some interesting artifacts here. I'm actually playing it on my Samsung Frame TV, and I'm actually playing it through the Analog Duo, the PC Engine console that Analog brought out. Currently waiting for my Analog 3D, the N64 version to turn up. But anyway, that's by the by. This is Might and Magic, so let's get this game loaded up. Obviously this is Japanese, so we'll see if we can muddle through it. And guys, I think we're just going to have the best time playing some Might and Magic. So this is 1991. Let's see what 1991's got to offer. You certainly couldn't have done this back in 1991. Stood and filmed it with something that you hold in your hand off of a big flat screen telly. But let's see how it looks once it starts. Just waiting for it to start now, guys.
This intro's still going on, by the way. The intro's still running. Look. And I sat and had a drink of tea and stuff like that. And I mean, it's good, but it's still going. Can't skip it or anything, so it's good though. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, it's good. It's still going, but probably nearly done now. Finish in a minute. A little bit now. There we go. Right in. Might and Magic. That'll be us now.
Longest fucking intro of all time ever, by the way, unskippable. Anyway, here we are actually in Might and Magic. Can you believe this? You can hear this lassie talking. This is the power of CD technology. This would have blown my wee mind back in 1991. You can hear this woman talking. Now, I love games like this. Anybody that knows me knows that I love the first-person dungeon crawl styles of games of this type. I get very depressed when I play these games because I kind of want to play all of them, all the ones that exist. I want to play them, and I am now going to be turning 48 shortly. I'm going to be 50 soon. I'm going to be 60. Then I'll be 70, then I'll be dead.
Aye, if you're lucky.
And I'm not going to be able to play all these dungeon crawler games that I want to play, you know. But I need to at least experience some of all of them. And I wanted to experience this. And so it's always a kind of bittersweet thing when I find a game like this and I dig into it and I hear the Japanese voices and I think to myself, oh, I never did learn Japanese like I said I was going to do when I was 19. Fucking stupid bastard. And I know what you're thinking, looking at this game, you're thinking, I don't even think it's worth worrying about, Rab, because it just looks like the same brick wall repeated again and again, and the same brown door repeated again and again, and then just some static images talking in Japanese. And I say to you, well, you're a fucking, you just have no culture. You've got no fucking culture if you don't love stuff like this. I mean, look at this Ratha Khan looking cunt here. This is the good stuff, man. Here we are in combat now in Might and Magic. I know you're thinking to yourself here, you're thinking to yourself, what is he doing? Because he can't even play this. And that is where you're mistaken, my friend, because let me explain something to you. The past of Japanese, imported Japanese games, that great storied past has been unlocked for all of us by the wonderful thing known as Google Lens. I mean, check this out. This is an actual bit for the game and I can now read it. I can read it. 2025, baby. So this is it, a game for 1991 that I can now play through, even though it's not even in the language that I was brought up to learn as a wee baby. And this is all I need to do, just point my camera to it and just work all this out, just read, just play it like this, just fucking do it like that. I'm going to be dead soon, I'm never going to get through all of these games. I'll be dead by the time I'm 70.
If you're lucky.
I'm never going to get through all these.
I've always really enjoyed that wee title screen for Blue Byte. This was released just 2 years before Blue Byte, excuse me, before Blue Byte release Settlers and make £1 trillion billion or euro. But Battle Isle was one of my very first strategy game big loves. Very much got obsessed with this game, in 1 player and in 2 player. It's heavily influenced by the Nectaris series Japanese strategy games, but I don't actually think they're as good as this. That's them there. The pictures are tiny. They reused the engine of this game, did Blue Byte, to create History Line, World War II? World War I strategy game. Again, I didn't like it as much as Battle Isle. There were several Daigdas for this game that I really appreciated, because other games, Amiga games that I loved, like Speedball, that never happened. You were left feeling a bit unloved, a bit uncatered for with some games. But with Battle Isle, if you were into it, if you were a fan of it, you had a cracking time. You can probably figure out the gist of how this game plays. You're the red guys on the left, you're fighting the yellow guys on the right. There. Now, I don't remember much for back in the day this game having the story that it actually does. Obviously, it just wasn't man, but I'm pummeling these guys. My focus was the strategy. I just loved keeping things tight, being defensive, playing to unit strengths, understanding terrain. In 2 player in Battle Isle, I seem to remember that I always really enjoyed playing the larger maps, and there's some large maps in the 2 player campaigns where you can both play with the destroyer the ship, the Destroyer. I'm really sorry to overly geek out, but I really love the Destroyer in Battle Isle. It's one of my favourite units in any game ever. Is that a thing? A favourite unit? It is now. This is one of my favourite, probably the favourite unit in any game. It repels itself, the Destroyer. What I hadn't realised until playing this game again recently is that you don't actually get to control the Destroyer in one player, you only get to control it in two player. You have to fight it in one player, because obviously this game does what a lot of other Amiga games do. It stacks the deck against you eventually. I'm sure by today's standards this seems a little bit simplistic, this game, but I spent many hundreds of hours playing this game. I know inside out. Know the strengths of all the units. I'll never ever forget the music. It is ingrained. It's not actually playing right now, but I remember it's always playing in my head. Battle tanks, the most powerful ground units in the game. Apart from heavy artillery, but they can all attack at a distance. I can't go into all the intricacies of the units, we've no get time. This is one of my favourite games. The Amiga is gaining strength. Back to the studio.
Right, Ryan, what are you after now?
Let's watch a film.
Let's watch a film. Ryan McLeod of the Clan McLeod.
M-A-C-L-E-O-D.
Ryan McLeod of the Clan McLeod over there. We are, of course, going to be talking about Highlander 2.
No.
Not again.
Highlander had a massive impact on young men, I think.
I remember Highlander, the Highlander brand and Braveheart. That's the two kind of film Scottish kind of moments where it makes you go kind of, oh, I'm proud of where I'm from.
Now Highlander's an interesting film because I like Highlander a lot.
Mm-hmm. The first one?
Yeah.
Right.
When was
the last time you saw it?
I'm a big fan of Highlander. It is rotten.
Aye. That's what I was going to say.
The last time I watched it, maybe 5 years ago or something, I was like, this is fucking not good, this film. But I still liked it. I like the vibes. It's all vibes. It's like a music video.
Mm-hmm.
The fucking Queen music does so much heavy lifting in Highlander.
Yeah.
Everything else.
But also the marriage of that music and the kind of, I don't know what to say, the tone of the performances.
Yeah, the tone, yep.
They work well.
Clancy Brown is great. The Kurgan is amazing.
Yep, very lively and entertaining.
It looks great, apart from like certain effect issues.
There's not much to the action scenes and stuff like that.
No.
They don't really go into any kind of complex way of filming things when it comes to action scenes.
No.
It's a wee bit kind of stagey.
Almost like a music video. Like it's obviously Russell Mulcahy had a background in that, didn't he?
But you say the feels and the kind of the lore of it and stuff like that.
It's a sexy film.
Sure, I'll give you that. Sure.
It's there's a lot of it's a love centered film, right. And there's something just really
You cruising for a piece of ass.
And there's something. Hi, I'm Candy. Of course you are. And there's something. There is something about the notion of immortals who have lived all throughout history and seen all this stuff coming together to fight each other one last time for the prize.
And I would say it's really, really important to the lore, to the strength of the lore of Highlander, that nothing's actually explained about who they are or where they come from.
1 million %.
It's kind of, it's crucial.
So the issue immediately with Highlander 2, which appeared in 1991, which I think is like 5 years after the first one. I think the first one was 86. The issue immediately with Highlander 2 is that they believe that they need to give some kind of explanation for why all the amazing stuff that we all enjoyed without any explanation in Highlander happened. So the story for Highlander 2, Ryan, is...
Are you going to do it? Please don't ask me to do it.
The story for Highlander 2 is there's this fucking planet, right? There's this planet where Ham Tyler lives to be, right? He's got long hair now.
He's lost the plot as well, like.
He's lost the plot. He's a baddie. We're not sure why he's a baddie, but he just is.
He's letting us know in a big way that he's a baddie.
There's these rebels that are fighting against... The rebels are trying to overthrow him, right? But anyway, he discovers them and catches them. Now, Sean Connery's character, what's his name again? Ramirez. Now, by the way, in the original, the reason why he was called Ramirez in the original Highlander is because the time that he lived in was, in the country that he lived in, meant he was called fucking Ramirez, right? Just like Connor MacLeod was called Connor MacLeod because he was of the Clan MacLeod in Scotland.
Yeah.
For some reason on this fucking planet, before they even get to Earth, their names are still Connor MacLeod and Ramirez, right?
My note of that is far into the film, but it hit me like later on in the film. I'm like, well, man, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's fucking demented. Anyway, they're rebels on this planet. The Quickening, it turns out, is some kind of magical bond thing between immortals, because they're no immortals yet, right? They're just guys on this planet. However, when Ham Tyler catches them and exiles them to Earth, well, he wants to execute them, right? But these three guys go like that. No. That's not what we do here, wherever this is. They say, we do what we always do. We exile them to Earth and we let them live life there as an immortal, where they can't die. That's their punishment. And then at some point, they can all come together and fight each other and win the prize. And the prize can be either they get their mortality back and they can spend the rest of their life on Earth, or they can come back to that planet and
with their faith restored,
or something like that, right? So the story is Connor MacLeod and Ramirez both get caught and get exiled to Earth. Now, that's how Highlander happened, because Connor MacLeod just appeared in Scotland, I assume, and Ramirez just appeared in fucking Spain.
But Ramirez appeared, I'm sure, like 1,000 years before Connor MacLeod.
Listen, don't confuse things.
I've not confused it. They've fucking confused it.
So, now, if that's not enough to get your head around...
Michael Ironside's character is Katana, by the way, because I found my note that I wrote down halfway through the film. I've written down, how the fuck is this guy's name Katana and MacLeod and Ramirez if they're all aliens for another planet? And Katana is such an offensive choice of name. Know what I mean? It's the name of a Japanese... Anyway, let's not go on it.
Now, if that's not confusing enough, on Earth, Connor MacLeod has now lived his life until he's an old man, right?
Well...
And you can tell he's an old man.
Can you?
Because you want to hear this fucking voice that Christopher Lambert's putting on.
It's like a character in The Simpsons that's filled in the... An old character in The Simpsons that's filled in the stairs. That's what that's his version of an old person.
He's talking like that.
Shield Corporation, may I help you?
Alan Neiman, please.
Who may I say is calling?
Tell him it's a friend. Tell him it's for Cloud.
So he's an old man. He's very old, right? And he's, by the way, can we just put up let's see if we can put up a comparison photo of how, because it's set in 2024.
I've written down that, like, you've got the weird plot opening cards, but I've written down the opening shot coming in up to the opera and stuff like that, and then the opera location and stuff like that. For about 2 minutes, 90 seconds to 2 minutes, you're like, like, this seems convincing and interesting. But the first unconvincing thing that happens is Christopher Lambert's face comes up.
Well,
and then you hear him speak.
See, when it started and it was that opera scene, I thought to myself, maybe this will be one of these ones where I go, this isn't as bad as, right? It is. Right, so Connor MacLeod has now lived a full life. And he's an old man now. He's got his mortality back, right? So he's an old man. And he is living alone in this kind of dystopian city in the future, 2024, right? And like I said, put up a comparison photo of Christopher Lambert as he is actually in 2024 and how he is in this film. So he's not got all the plastic surgery in this world that he's in. And Connor MacLeod has also created a big shield over the planet.
Him and some other scientist. There was no indication.
No indication.
Well, I suppose
he had no scientific.
If you're alive for hundreds of years, maybe you just pick stuff up, maybe. Possibly. But him and another scientist.
Because of the ozone layer, right, Ryan?
It's ozone's too damaged, so you need to build a shield.
So he's put a shield around the planet.
That also blocks out all sunlight as well.
Yeah.
Which you think would be really bad for the planet, but
his wife has died of the sun. The sun radiation has killed his wife in the past.
He's had a few wives.
So one of his wives, and he's made this shield around the planet, right? Listen up, guys. Here we go. So there's these rebels on this planet, and all these kind of terrorists who want to take down the shield because they've discovered that the shield, everything, the ozone layer's repaired itself.
Yeah.
And they're keeping the shield up just to control people.
Mm-hmm.
So the terrorists...
Well, the company that owns the shield, who's represented in the film most of the time by that really ludicrous, over-the-top guy that I've only ever seen in comedies and stuff like that.
Aye, that actor.
But he or their company charge companies for like the right to block out the sun. So they're making massive amounts of money basically. So they're not going up. They're not going to just turn off the technology now that it exists and stop cashing the checks in. So the rebels are going to have to fight this company to get that shield turned off.
Yeah, so there's obviously a good looking lassie who's the boss of the terrorists or something, right?
Yeah, she's not very convincing really as a rebel leader.
And she hooks up with Christopher Lambert.
And about like 2 minutes after meeting him or something like that, shagging in an alleyway, and they've got the audacity to play Who Wants to Live Forever, like an orchestral version of Who Wants to Live Forever. The beautiful bit of music they used in the first film, they use in this scene where Christopher Lambert's just shagging a lassie that he's just met in an alleyway.
By the way,
fucking bogging alley.
Hold on, let's go back a wee minute, because Ryan said Christopher Lambert shagging a lassie in an alleyway. There's no way a lassie is shagging that old man in an alleyway, right?
But it was after he became young.
I know, so let's call that.
Sorry,
first of all, we've no fucking told.
Wait, this podcast going to need to be 4 hours long.
Right, because we need to explain this. Now, so he's doing there, right? And he's having memories of Sean Connery, as you do. Right? And Ham Tyler's watching this on his telly up in the planet, right? He's got a telly where he's watching Highlander 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And after he goes, he's obviously thinking this is fucking rotten. Right? But he's also thinking, I'm not having this. I don't know what it is he's not having, right? But he's like, I'm not having this.
He's like, I need to be in this film.
So he goes, is there two really annoying cunts here? Is there two series annoying cunts you get in these old films that kind of laugh like us? Is there any of you guys here?
He's an old man now. He'll be dead in a couple of weeks.
I don't care. Find him for me. Kill him. So hard to get good help.
So two of these guys,
two of them,
who, by the way, have fucking Sonic the Hedgehog hairstyles.
They do.
He sends them down to Earth to kill Connor McLeod, right? Now, the problem with that is, you would think Ham Tyler would have fucking known this. The problem with that is the minute...
If old man Connor McLeod somehow manages to decapitate one of these annoying cunts,
yeah,
the quickening will occur.
The quickening will occur and make him young again, and the game is underway again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happens. They come down, and by the way, these guys...
The annoying idiots try to explain this as well to Ham Tyler. Sorry, Katana.
They do. So with Connor McLeod, I mean, it's just fucking annoying putting Queen on the book jocks, the jukebox and all that. Connor McLeod puts Queen on the jukebox, almost as if like he went, I want to listen to that song that used to play in my film I was in. That was...
They toast, jumping forward to Ramirez and Connor McLeod toasting. Connor McLeod says, it's a kind of magic.
Fucking honking, man. So anyway, these guys come down and we have a flying joust. This is kind of all right, but they're on their wings. They're on these...
You can see the strings, but
they're on these bat wings, these baddies, and they're flying about, and the sword fighting's kind of rotten. But old man McLeod gets on a pair of flying shoes and is flying about on a pair of kind of anti-gravity Crocs, they look like.
Mm-hmm.
And he's flying about anyway, eventually kills...
He finds a pipe as well, and for some reason he makes a big deal about thanking either the Lord or Ramirez or somebody for finding a pipe, which I thought...
By the way, this fight with these two guys goes on for fucking ages. It goes on for fucking ages.
But we never covered a wee bit of background that I only knew aware of after doing research for this. But in previous viewings of this film, I was never aware that not only do the actors who are in this film, Christopher Lambert, Michael Ironside, Sean Connery, all despise the script and are publicly saying they've only done the film for money. The production itself actually suffered because it's filmed in Argentina, this film, and while it was being filmed, the currency in Argentina was in free fall, so the budget of this film went completely out of control, and I never knew that. And it got to the point where the studio sacked half the director, so it's been directed by basically studio executives.
Yeah.
The director reportedly walked out of the premiere of the film after like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because it's garbage, basically.
Just to clarify,
it's artistically garbage.
To clarify on the money front, the financial front, Sean Connery get paid $3 million for 6 days' work.
Aye.
So he's on it for 6 days. Anyway, they have this fight with these guys. See the second guy that McLeod kills here, by the way? Did you notice that he killed him by pulling a rope across? He ties his sword up with a rope and then pulls a rope tight, and then the guy flies into the rope and his head rolls off. What happened there? Why did his head just kind of roll
I thought it
up?
came off really quick as well, really easy as well. It was also really clumsy, the first guy, just to fall with his head right on a railway track and get it chopped.
It was as if the second guy, it was as if his head was just kind of balanced on his body, which is no great for an immortal who can only be killed by your head coming off. To just balance it on your body, and then his wee fucking dummy body.
Conor McLeod's maybe just dead good at it, because he was the original winner, isn't he? He's the original champ, so maybe he's just dead good at getting your head to fly off.
So, anyway, after the quickening happens for the second time, for some fucking reason, Conor McLeod shouts, "Ramirez, I need you! Because there's a sequel now!"
Because you'd said earlier that any time you call my name, etc.
Yeah, which he didn't say, but... And then Sean Connery appeared. And this is when...
They had a conversation about
in the
how
first film?
they'll always be... No, in the first film.
No, I know, it's invented.
I know, but
Yeah.
Connery had said, "Oh, just call my name because we're brothers and I'll come and find you."
Sorry, I'm getting angry at you. I mean, it should be everybody else I'm getting angry at. So Ramirez, this is where the film goes from bad to worse. From shite to really shite. Ramirez appears at a fucking Shakespeare and Glencoe live performance thing or something and ruins the Shakespeare play, which all these people that have paid a fortune to see Shakespeare all think is great. They're all applauding him for ruining the play.
And Ramirez, every time he speaks while he's on stage in this play, is basically whispering everything more or less to the guy, but somehow the audience, who are miles away, can hear everything that he's saying.
I want to remind the audience that are listening to this that Ramirez's head get chopped off in the first Highlander movie, right? Which now doesn't matter. And in fact, Ramirez, before he goes to save Conor McLeod, he decides to go and get a suit tailored for himself. Because you would, when your brother across generations and across space and time calls for help, you'd go and get a fucking wee suit tailored before you went to assist him. After he gets his suit turned on.
He pays for the suit, by the way, by giving the suit makers a wee earring that looks like it costs about $5 or like TG shoes or something like that.
He then walks past a mirror and checks that his head's on.
He does do that. It doesn't explain, because he only had one earring. It doesn't explain how he paid for the air flight that he. It's a comical scene where the guy's like, "Are you flying?" And Ramirez is like, "You fly," because he doesn't know that fucking aeroplanes are a thing, even though he comes from a futuristic alien planet.
Yeah, that's true. Sean Connery goes to... So he takes a flight. I mean, I don't know why the Quickening never just brought him in. I don't know why it brought him in there in Scotland.
That's why. He's not even fucking Scottish in the film. He's Spanish, isn't he?
You know, there's a bit in this film where Christopher Lambert's character, Conor McLeod, explains...
How did he get on a flight to America, to another... He didn't have a passport or anything?
No. Conor McLeod explains how it all works to his girlfriend at one point, and both characters basically go, "This is a lot of shite." In the film, both characters go, "This makes no fucking sense." In the film, they say that. She's like, "What?" And he's like, I know, it's rotten. So Ham Taylor eventually decides he's coming to Earth, doesn't he?
He does. He says, fuck us.
He says if he can't get a job done, he sent 2 fucking guys, right? That was his big effort. I'll do it myself. He's obviously, remember he controls this planet and he seems to have just 2 guys on bat wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he decides he's coming now. Now this is an overlord, an alien planet who is able to exile people to another planet or not. Somehow when he sends himself to a planet, he manages to kind of miss or something and goes flying right through the earth and smashes
into a subway train.
Smashes right
Why? I need I need scientists to explain to me why when he lands in the subway train he stops, because the flare of a subway train's like no anywhere near as like dense as all the rock that he's just travelled through. So why is he stopping?
I don't know why you would stop.
And anyway, he smashes right on the floor of the subway.
He smashes exactly there on the floor of the subway train, and then he takes control of the subway train.
He kills a guy first.
Oh, he kills a guy first.
And then after he kills the guy, the lights are blinking, and I caught the guy blinking with the blinking lights after he died.
Then Ham Taylor goes up the front of the train and takes control of it. Now, you know how it's that thing? You know how, like, if you were to go into the subway train in Glasgow and you went up the front, you could, if you wanted, make it go 3,000 miles an hour. He turns the speed of the subway train.
They would all have strobe lights in the cabin that you could turn on while we were doing that.
I don't feel like subway trains are normally built with the ability to go to a speed.
To go flying off the tracks.
A speed that would allow you to maybe leave Earth orbit, right? But this train has been built like that. And Ham Taylor knows about it. So he goes up front, he turns it up right up to top speed, and everybody on the train all goes flying through.
It's as if they're flying through time.
There's babies flying through the air and smashing against the back of the. I have no fucking clue.
And fair play to him when he's up front and all this is happening. He's absolutely loving it, and he's having the time of his life.
He is having. he's hopped up on one of that fucking Argentinian steak and fucking beer. And he's earning his money and he's having the time of his life.
50 minutes and 34 seconds I've written. And while this is all going on, there's like a 2, maybe as much as 2 second shot of what I've written doing as unacceptable prosthetic eyes. I'll bring them up on screen for us to have a look at. It's basically
beautiful.
2 ping pong balls cut in half.
A wee bit eye. They've not quite mastered the Total Recall bulging eye thing that is done quite soon afterwards.
But
it's shocking.
But just to say again, like this isn't like any art. Like when this is getting put together, this footage, there's no artistic there's no pros involved. There's no artists involved in this. It's just like the studio just clamping stuff together and going, well, that'll do. Get it out. Let's make money.
Now stop.
Anyway, the culmination of this film is Ramirez comes and reunites with McLeod.
No, sorry, can we go back to the subway train? Because see the conclusion of that bit?
Mm-hmm.
That subway train comes flying through a wall into the street. No, the subway trains they know generally, like, how did it...
How you want them to walk out yet if it doesn't come flying out?
You're right.
So they need to bring the big shit. I don't know why they need to bring the big shit. I don't know why Connor McLeod's helping or anything. But they need to go and bring down this big shield so Ramirez and McLeod go. Their plan is we're going to get in a motor, right? McLeod and Ramirez. These immortals who have fought through time. We get into a fucking motor, an old Volvo or something, right? Stick a lassie in the boot. Stick a lassie in the boot and we'll drive up to the checkpoint and let them machine gun us to death. Because we're not going to die, we're immortals, right? And then we'll walk out and we'll hope they don't shoot the trunk where the lassie is.
There's a hail of bullets lit in all directions, but somehow none of them pierce the trunk.
So they get in, they're immortals, their wounds heal. And they get in, and then they get into a room where a big computer game room into it, Ryan, where like a big weird fan thing or something is coming down to crush them or something. But here's the thing. Here's what saves them.
Put me
Ramirez.
in mind Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory when they had fizzy lifting juice and they went up to the fan. Kind of same concept, except this fan's coming down and it's got a big spike bit on the middle of it.
And Ramirez can do a kind of magic, is the thing.
They tried to put some kind of explanation together of him like harnessing what's left of his life force in one point that allows him to hold this.
A guy that's already died, by the way, who's dead, right? Is managing to have everybody is given a lifetime. That's what he's saying, right? Everybody has a lifetime. But if you can take that lifetime and bring it to one point in time, then it's a kind of magic. And so he uses.
See when they get into this motor. I'm going back to this motor. So when they get into the motor, Sean Connery says, "Hit it, dude." He's fucking 95 years old and he says, "Hit it, dude." Anyway, point with the fan and the life force. So he hods the fan.
Yeah.
He stops the fan for crushing him and cutting him to death, and he lifts it up and then he turns into a gas or something.
It's to sacrifice himself to save his friend, a Spanish peacock. And he does that, and then they two can go to stop the shield.
Yeah, turn it off.
Then Ham Tyler turns up, and then there's a fight.
And that fight is too long as well.
You know, Christopher Lambert lost a bit of his finger in this fight.
Did he?
Yeah. Because Ham Tyler, Michael Ironside said these swords were too fucking heavy to do any action scenes with. He says, I thought they would be light prop swords and they were just big, heavy fucking swords.
You can tell by the speed they're swinging it. They seem a bit heavy.
They're swinging about each other, and Christopher Lambert lost a bit off the tip of his finger doing it. And it's not worth it because it's rotten.
Did you feel proud when Ramirez, who's Spanish, by the way, sacrifices himself and the bagpipes start playing?
Amazing Grace on the bagpipes as the Spanish peacock, Ramirez, who, I mean, he just has some kind of connection to Scotland, that character, and I just don't know what it is.
Can't figure it out.
I just don't know what that connection to Scotland is. This is a profoundly terrible film.
Dreadful, isn't it? It's really dreadful.
It's without a doubt, I think, the worst film we've watched on. It made me think about, what was the Seagal
It's
film
a
we
perfect
watched?
storm. Like the script is awful, as we said at the start. Like all this backstory stuff does nothing but damage to like the brand of Highlander. Somehow it's carried on, and they've kept making films and TV shows, but that is still. I would think that still got to do with that initial, like that first film, the lore of it, the kind of mystique of the idea of the immortals.
Exactly, the mystique is the thing. I think actually, I would go as far as to say there are no good Highlander things.
No, there isn't, unfortunately. I thought it was the first film, but I've watched the first film last year, and it is not great.
But it is.
The idea is great. Some of the performances are good.
It has something.
I think the first film is maybe the first film that I've thought could be an interesting re-edit. Like, maybe I'll check out if there's any fan re-edits or something, because I think there is a better film in there. But no, the Highlander brand is.
It's like Highlander, the first one, is. It's weird. It's objectively bad. It's subjectively great, kind of. Like.
Again, there's something in it. There's something in the idea.
I think it's almost like a lucky combination of the music, the mystique of the concept, and how lightly they play it without explaining it. A great villain.
Yeah.
Connery's great in the first one as well, and Lambert is a fucking movie star in the first one. Lambert doesn't have that many lines to say, and is a movie
first
star.
one has weird accents and stuff like that. They make sense within the context of the character because he's lived for hundreds of years and lived all over the world, and so he would be.
And it has, and like I said, it's sexy and it's lit beautifully, and you know, it's all that as well. It's all the big kind of which this film goes for as well, like big fans spinning with big huge lights coming through them and stuff to create all that light and shade. But this one is just such a confused shambles where they try and explain.
I mean, it's like the prize in the end of the first film is that you gain your mortality. You're allowed to die. It's quite a powerful, beautiful ideal.
Exactly. The idea itself in the first one is beautiful. The idea being that these people are all fighting and suffering to be able to do what we do, which is just living natural,
which we try to ignore. We don't look at.
So that thing we fear, they desire, and they're fighting for, which is just a beautiful thing in itself. Whereas in Highlander 2, it's also the fact that it's set in this dystopian future, and I don't think the Highlander concept works.
You don't think there's something a wee bit sinister about the plot, about how the ozone layer just repairs itself?
Yeah.
I feel about the message is just kind of confused.
The message is confused, but again, I just kind of feel there's something in Highlander that feels like there's something worth living for, whereas in that world there, and it's fucking terrible looking. It's like, it's not even like, oh, their prizes, they get to live their life in this fucking horrible place. It's that mistake they've made again, whereas, you know, a Highlander 2, there's just no need for it. The minute that guy wins the prize at the end of Highlander and he can now live a normal life, normal life as well, no creating big shields or whatever, just be a man who loves
the famous guy on the planet.
No, exactly.
The early in the film, there's the street thugs that back away from old man McLeod.
They've heard them.
Just because he's McLeod.
He's the Highlander. He's the Highlander. Even that in itself is fucking ridiculous. That
everybody's calling him McLeod. He's got a first name.
Yeah. The fact that, it's almost like, it's like a fan film. It's almost like a fan film made by people who have no concept of what they got lucky with in the first. And I think it does feel like that. It feels like, wow, they got lucky with that first film. I would be interested to see a re-edit of the first Highlander without any Queen music, to see how that would play. Because what is Highlander without Who Wants to Live Forever playing when he's, what's her name? Bonnie, that first wife, the kind of main wife that haunts him, Bonnie Heather, my Bonnie Heather, when she dies, and Who Wants to Live Forever is playing and stuff like that, Brian May's song. It's fucking magic, you know? And even the start of Highlander, it's like, here we are, born to be kings. You're like, this is fucking something. Something's happening here, which this film never has.
Also the Queen song that's on when Kirkin's driving in the car and he's listening to the radio. Yeah. Ahead at this time has no name. I know his name.
And that's the thing. You've got that energy going through the first film of Queen, of this young, kind of handsome, kind of quite exotic actor. This big brute, a villain. You get prostitutes, you've got the sexy love interest, you've got Sean Connery swaggering and looking handsome as well. It's a fucking sexy, attractive movie. You get to a second one, it's a guy totally an old man. You've got fucking Ham Tyler, you've got stupid kind of sub-Mad Max kind of guys. It's bad.
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
Search out Katana. It'll take the power of you both to destroy the shield.
Will I ever see you again?
Who knows, Highlander? Who knows? Go.
Right, let's get to some more games. Let's say cleanse our palates with something that we do all desire and all love, and that is the wonderful world of video games.
Civilization by Sid Meier has a very, very long intro. Kinda cool back in the day, graphically, but my god, it takes a long time. What's actually happening is that the game is loading in the background of the title screen. That's why it takes so long. Now you look at this footage, I want you to look at this footage and tell me that you're not excited by that footage. You're probably aware of all the amazing games that Sid Meier has already made by this point, Pirates, and he actually also made the F-15 Strike Eagle games, which have always been favourites of mine, and in particular F-15 Strike Eagle 2, which I thought was really, really good. And I get a big twang of nostalgia for looking at that box art. War. Indeed, in Civilization 1 you'll find that war happens a lot. Very, very, very difficult to play through this initial iteration of Civilization peacefully. Egyptian wise men discover the secret of horseback riding. He didn't look very Egyptian there, did you notice that? A really impressive accomplishment of Civilization is how intuitive it is. I know it's the basic structure of a Civilization game. Things get a lot more complicated than that. Oh, for fuck's... Come on, I hadn't even saved. Even getting a nostalgia hit after the Guru meditation error, that's a weird turn of events. Yeah, it's very, very well explained. I'm playing on easy obviously, but you can have advisors who you don't need to listen to, but who are always kind of steering you in the right direction, and things are very thoroughly explained. For such a complex game, it's very approachable, which is definitely not always the case with strategy games, not by a long shot. Oh my god, is that the ruler of France, Jimmy White? Is there no end to that guy's talent? So this is the game. You're going to be sitting in silence a lot of the time, despite the fact that it is a very stripped back feel. What it does have is that thing that other Civilization games have, where you feel compelled to have just a wee bit more time, mate. Just have a wee bit more shots. You make a few more improvements, make a few more discoveries. Don't know whether you know or no, but even for the very beginning of Civilization games, you can win by wiping everybody out, or you can go to space and leave everybody behind to the trash can that is Earth. Out in 1991, this game, so there's at no point in this game does it say mobile phones have came out, everything is now terrible, everybody is sad. Your civilization can no longer communicate with each other because their attention spans are fucked. Oh my god, what the fuck is she? Romans destroy the English civilization, on the Romans. No offence, etc. No offence, etc. Also out in 1991, I didn't realise that Civilization and this were out in the same year actually, but also out in 1991 is Populous 2. One of my favourite ever games. A vast improvement for Populous. A very, very smooth experience. Still has the same thing I've mentioned it many times about Amiga games, that the difficulty spike is pretty severe because you're not dealing with like intricate AI, so you get the deck stacked against you a wee bit eventually. I find a sweet spot for playing Populous 2 around about level like 300ish. The computer's competent, but you still get to use lots of the fun powers. Most of the time that I've spent playing Populous 2, to be honest, because I have finished it over the years, but most of the time because I've played it a lot here and there over the years, and most of the time that I've been playing it, I turn it on like I'm kind of playing with a toy, like a more complex Rubik's Cube or a game of chess. I like to put on a difficult enough, challenging enough level, but I don't need to go to the end of the game and suffer the headache, not being able to use any of my powers and not being able to alter land and basically not being able to play the game properly. That's what the later levels can be a bit like. But I like to have a shot at Populous 2. It's very relaxing, very soothing, as long as I'm winning. That harp sound effect is... I'm winning in this game, by the way. I'm absolutely trouncing this guy. But that harp sound effect is Helena Troy, my hero. You can make heroes when your leader becomes powerful enough. And something interesting happens in Populous 2 because Helen distracts the enemies until they starve to death. But then when all the enemies are out of their homes and fallen and mesmerised by her, when everybody is mesmerised by her, you'll hear that harp sound effect over and over again. And it sounds a bit like, and looks a bit like, she's literally shagging these guys to death. It's such a good game.
Ignore this Antiques Roadshow ass music. This is Sherlock Holmes Consultant Detective for 1991, which was a game that I was desperate to get back in the day because it was an adaptation of one of my favourite board games. And really, the video game version is just a board game. This is the Japanese version, and I thought, I'll get this because it will just be the text that's in Japanese. It's not like they'll dub it into Japanese, is it? And of course they did. They dubbed all the digitised video into Japanese, so I loaded it up and I thought to myself, well, that's me completely fucked. But you know, I'm so familiar with this game and I'm so familiar with what happens in these adventures that I like to just load this up and just have a wee look at the videos and just, I don't know, it's these digitised graphics of this 1991 period, these kind of Sam Fox strip poker looking digitised graphics. I don't know, there's a lot of nostalgia, isn't there? Reminds me of trying to watch pornos on the scrambled adult channel on your satellite dish, you know, when it was all all that digitised weird wide. You could just see shapes moving. There was just like shapes going up and down, and you could just kind of visualise what was going on. That's what it's like. We had to do a lot of the work with these digitised graphics. We had to do a lot of the work ourselves. Anyway, this game, Sherlock Holmes Consultant Detective, is amazing, by the way. Whether you pick it up in board game form or you pick it up in one of these old video game forms, it's just, I think it's one of the best designed kind of storytelling narrative games ever made. And I feel like it doesn't quite get the credit it deserves. The way it works is that you have a case that lands on you, and then you have newspapers that you can pore over to see if you can find anything connected to that case. And then you have a big directory of people who live in London, and you can go and visit any of those people, knock on their doors, talk to them, and then try and piece together the adventure that way. And it genuinely feels like being a detective when you're playing Sherlock Holmes Consultant Detective. The problem with the video game version is it's just a much slower process to work through the cases in this format than it is when you have an actual newspaper opened up on your table, you know, when you're playing the physical version. Anyway, 1991 was the year of Salamander, so whenever I get on the PC Engine, sorry, let's just be clear here, because I will be talking about Salamander in greater detail when the Sega Saturn arrives in CVXX. But this is a great port on the PC Engine, so I had to flag it up. An important moment in 1991, and you know, I've spoken in the past about how much I love Konami shooters like Gradius and Parodius, and Salamander is another one of the games that I just absolutely adore it. And it's funny, with Salamander, it always takes me a wee bit of time to tune back into it because it's so different for those other games. It completely stands alone, but my God, very, very special and a total highlight of my 1991 games collection. An absolute masterpiece, and it doesn't matter what language you play it in.
Speaking of dystopian...
Speaking of games, I hear the theme tune to this.
And you hear it where?
To this TV show. I hear this, and it puts me in touch with some kind of anti-English vibes.
Whoa!
That I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with it either. I'm just saying, it just puts me in touch with it.
It's only a game, so put up a real good fight.
I'd like to see that music here.
We're gonna be snookering you tonight.
William Wallace's wife's neck getting cut.
It's only a game, so put up a real good fight. I'm gonna be snookering you tonight. I'm famed for my aim, so you better believe I'm right.
Now listen.
Put up a real good fight.
See if you were to say to me 2 weeks ago, who sings the theme tune to Big Break? It's only a game, so... What would you have said?
Chaz and Dave.
I would have said Chaz and Dave as well, isn't it?
Chaz and Dave?
And I know it isn't Chaz and Dave. I know that it's Captain Sensible, formerly of the Damned, right? I know that. See if you ask me again in 6 months' time, who...
Back to Chaz and Dave.
I'll be back to Chaz and Dave again. I've fucking corrected myself on this a million times. This is like some kind of Mandela effect type thing.
I mean, it's very Chaz and Dave sounding, isn't it?
It is. But I don't know if the confusion comes from the fact that Chaz and Dave, by the way, salts of the fucking earth. Chaz and Dave, good guys. I don't know if
you've met them, have you?
No, I've never met them, but I don't know if it comes from the fact that around about the same time they were snooker loopy, that's our way, me and him and them and we. I'll show you what we can do with a load of balls and a snooker cue. Pop the red and screw back for the yellow, green, brown, blue, pink and black. Snooker loopy, that's our way. We're all snooker loopy. Chaz and Dave are top notch, by the way, I would say. I'll argue every day. Chaz and Dave.
I'm not keen.
Right, anyway. But
it's
anyway.
Not them anyway.
It's who hasn't he?
It's not them in the show we're talking about. It's not even,
Chaz and Dave
they're not even involved.
Chaz and Dave Day, it's only a game. Oh no, it's Captain Sensible. It's Captain Sensible for the Damned.
That was
it does it. There's a fucking music video. It's written by Mike Batt, by the way. Mike Batt, the legendary Mike Batt. We'll play the music video. It's big, long. It's pretty good. Anyway, Big Break. Big Break is a snooker game show that was on BBC One. And it stars Jim Davidson, the racist comedian, and
the snooker commentator, ex-player John Virgo, who is introduced as a very, very funny guy, isn't he? By Jim, the racist.
Know that you'd notice.
How you going, mate?
All right, mate.
Yeah. What we got tonight, then?
I've got 3 balls in here.
I'm saying nothing. See you later on, John. Let's go and meet the contestants who want to make or break it tonight.
I saw somebody talking on the internet the other day, and they were saying the 80s and 90s were just, they were beautiful. They were beautiful decades. And there was real art and real culture and all of that, and now it's just terrible. And I thought to myself, but there was also Big Break with Jim Davidson and John Virgo as well. Which, and this is going to be a very conflicted bit of coverage by me on this.
Right, because you like the show? I've written down that I like the format of the show.
Yeah, right.
See, when Ray Reardon came out and I remembered how the show worked, I was like, oh no, that's actually quite a good idea.
Right, yeah. Well, here's the problem, right? So the theme tune's amazing. I'm going to say the theme tune's amazing. It's because it's... Will you ever forget that theme tune?
No, definitely not.
I feel like I'll be lying on my deathbed one day, right, with fucking blood pouring out my arsehole.
When I'm driving around the beautiful west coast of Scotland, which I'm convinced, I know that I've travelled around the world much, but I've seen a fair few countries, and I've been to exotic countries, but when I drive around the west coast of Scotland and I see the beautiful spots, and then I go to my Airbnb that I've paid too much fucking money for, and I meet the owners of the Airbnb, and they've got a London accent, I hear the fucking theme tune to Big Break. It's only a game.
You're hearing right there.
Of a real good fun.
You're hearing Chaz and Dave right away. Oh, fuck, Captain Sensible. So anyway, so Jim Davidson comes out, and here's the setup, right? So there's contestants, 3 contestants. Yep. And each of these contestants need to pull a ball out of a bag.
One of the contestants has the absolute effrontery to be a woman as well.
Fuck, wait, I know. And not even just a woman, but a woman who... doesn't talk like that, right? So she's got a wee bit of a kind of polite voice.
Anybody who displays any slight difference around Jim Davidson.
Oh, you're getting it.
You're getting it.
You're getting it. Now, Jim Davidson, to give you a bit of background, was a comedian who came to prominence and fame on the talent show New Faces back in the day. The English loved him. And he was famous for doing a load of kind of comedy bits about a mate of his called Chalky, who was a black guy who was daft.
Instead of broke down, I'm waiting for a mechanic.
Wait for what, son? What's that? What's that say?
I'm waiting for a mechanic.
A mechanic? What's a mechanic?
A mechanic. With his spanner in the garage, got the tune of the carburetion, a mechanic.
A daft black guy. That was how Jim Davidson came up. So he was a kind of he was a racist comedian right for the get go, really, right? And he came up, you know. When you think a guy like Jim Davidson, and by the way, I'm going to be praising Jim Davidson in a minute, right? So this is what it's all about. It's all about light and shade, right?
But there was you're talking about something that's probably quite important, but there's a scene that there's like an audience that was catered for up to a certain point, probably in the 80s maybe.
Yeah.
And like clubs and stuff like that. There was a scene where a particular type of comedian could rely on this audience for their living. That's who they performed for. But that kind of alternative comedy and stuff like that started to fade away in the 80s, so it became less and less a thing. But Jim is a product of these clubs.
He's a product of that time and a product, but he also he managed to...
Bernard Manning, you know, he's like the king, the face of like these kind of...
Yeah, but Jim Davidson managed to very, very cleverly kind of hone his act to be more palatable within the mainstream, where he could hint towards that, but still make it work. But what I always think about when I see guys like Jim Davidson, I always think about Lenny Henry. I'm a big Lenny Henry fan. Lenny Henry gets slagged off by some people, and it really fucking annoys me. It's one of these things that really annoys me, because that guy came up. Lenny Henry came up doing comedy in that scene, in that fucking world where the guy that was on before him was probably making jokes about guys like him. And then Lenny Henry would have to come up and somehow fucking rose up doing comedy, which is hard enough as it is, on the fucking working men's clubs now.
I've also seen other black comics of the time who kind of have to pander And a way to
100%,
that,
aye.
and play a character themselves for that audience.
Anyway,
in
so-
order to get by.
Aye. Anyway, so Jim Davidson is a product of that world, right? So up he comes, and so he's got, I would say, he's constantly got a kind of aggressive edge to him.
He's a chippy character.
Yeah. And I bet he would fucking, I bet he's a nightmare. He was divorced 5 times, by the way, Jim Davidson.
Right.
And I think to myself, I fucking wonder when I'm watching this, right? So anyway, the 3 contestants, this is the game, 3 contestants, and each gets paired up with a snooker player. They play through a number of wee rounds, games.
John Virgo comes out at the start, and the only thing he says after he's been introduced is, "I've got 3 balls on here," which is kind of funny because he said the word balls, and with testicles. This is a primetime family TV show, entertainment show. I've got 3 balls in here. But the 3 balls are the 3 professional players that the contestants have to choose.
I've got an objection to make about Jim Davidson's opening gag. So Jim Davidson's opening gag is about how he grew up loving snooker, and he didn't have a snooker table, so he'd play snooker on the living room table.
Pickled onions.
With pickled onions, and with his granddad's cane as a snooker cue.
That's right.
And they wouldn't have pockets, so he'd have to improvise. And he says, "I'll tell you what, my granddad never went to sleep with his mouth open. And
I got so good, my granddad would never fall asleep with his mouth open. No. And you'd never see my cat bending over either. Now!
He must have quite a forceful strike to be able to strike a pickled onion up a cat's arse.
But also, what does he mean by a cat bending over? Visualise that. What does a cat... Right, first of all, does a cat need to bend over for you to see its arsehole?
No, it does not.
I feel like anybody who's ever owned a cat will tell you see your cat's arsehole a lot. When have you ever seen a cat bending over? You ever see a cat going, "Oh, fucking dropped a $5, bend over"? It doesn't. I would be like that, Jim.
I think it aids the joke, though, in fairness to Jim. I think the wording of it aids the joke a wee bit. Because we bend over to show our arses.
No. But see, this is exactly my objection, right? This is a joke that Jim's done before.
Right.
He say, "Oh, my granddad never fell asleep with his mouth open." I'll tell you something else. Never saw my granny bending over.
Right.
I think that's what it is.
Right.
And he's went, "Well, can't I say that in the BBC? Let's just say cat." And everybody's been too feared to say to him, "Jim, cats don't bend over. 4-legged animals tend..." I would say no 4-legged animal really tends to bend over. That's something that people who...
I can't imagine giving notes to Jim Davidson. He doesn't seem like an approachable type that would take that very well.
Anyway, Brian, who works for Rank, the movie mob, he gets Ray Reardon, Dracula.
Yeah.
Dracula himself.
6-time world champion, apparently.
There's a really, really funny bit that made me laugh right away where Jim Davidson says to Ray Reardon, "Are you playing well?" And he goes, "No."
My golf's better than my snooker, he says.
Which is really good. And then the other contestant, Lynette, her name is, the lady contestant, who the minute he hears her name, he goes, "Oh, Lynette!"
He does like a dance or something.
He does a wee,
Lynette.
"Oh, Lynette, a woman, oh," like that.
Which that is basically what he does when he sees any kind of difference, basically that kind of reaction. "Oh, I'm going to point this out, this difference."
Very horrible.
Yeah.
Lynette. Where are you from, Lynette?
I'm from near Pontefract in West Yorkshire.
Pontefract in West
That's
Yorkshire.
right.
Do you remember there was somebody called Lynette at our school? Right.
Rings a bell, but I can't picture her. She was whose year was she in?
I think she was in your year. She wore ankle boots.
Why do I not remember that?
You don't remember Lynette with ankle boots at our school?
No, I don't.
Are you fucking serious?
It's annoying me.
You don't remember Lynette in art? Because I was in the art class with you, remember? I can't even remember why I would be in an art class with you because we're different years.
No,
I got held back for being so shit at drawing. I had to repeat a year.
One of the first
Ryan, show me how to draw a banana.
One of the first things we bonded there was showing you how to colour in properly.
Remember I drew that with one of the first projects I did in art class was I drew that cat bending off. You don't remember Lynette with the ankle boots? That's fucking...
Weirdly, I feel as if I can remember the ankle boots now that you've mentioned the ankle boots in art class, but I can't remember her name, her face.
Yeah, well, right. So There's an Australian snooker player comes out. I can't remember his name.
Nah, it's not important. Really.
But the guy mentions Neighbours, which is obviously a big cultural thing at the time.
He's been there for 8 years or something, he says, living in the UK, but he's still getting Australian
He tries to connect with Jim, didn't he, by saying, well, I'll talk about something that's a cultural Australian thing that's big. So he mentions Neighbours, to which Jim Davidson responds by making a vomiting gesture. And you just get the sense everybody that's talking to Jim Davidson is going, this guy's just an absolute bastard. An absolute bastard.
I get a good dose of Neighbours every day.
Oh, that Neighbours, it's great, isn't it? I love it. Right, onwards, Lynette.
The contestant Vince, who Jim Davidson tells us is an idiot, he's wrong about that, by the way, is joined by Alex Higgins, who's looking well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He doesn't say much, though, which makes me wonder what kind of actual state he's in.
Alex Hurricane Higgins, who's a notorious alky, by the way. Okay, so the first round is called Red Hot, in it, which is just about...
Jim did a Dennis Taylor impression.
Oh, does I?
Which was just a really, really bad Irish accent.
Yeah. Later from there, he also hits it with a Scottish accent as well. He hits
it with while the Australian player. That's what I'm saying about a difference. Like there's an Australian player, and Scottish is a different thing, and Australian is a different thing. So he does a Scottish accent.
Aye.
Right, see you, Jimmy. That's better for you,
It's not a bad break.
John Virgo, by the way, has to be the fucking snooziest cunt ever on telly, man. He's just on there like catatonic.
He's definitely no high energy, is he?
No, he's no high energy. I mean, he's fine. He's pretty, no slagging him off. So anyway, it turns out Ray Reardon's brilliant at this game.
We kind of just brushed out the fact that when Jim was talking to Lynette for the first time, that he basically said he wanted to fuck her and have a kid with her.
Yeah, that's
true. We kind of just glossed over that.
I know, but...
A woman showed up and it's on the cards that the presenter of the show is just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. These snooker players, Ryan, are so fucking slow at playing these games.
Snooker's quite a slow game.
It's
quite a big table to get run.
I know it is, but you would imagine they would say to them, look, you're on a timer. There's a minute. Like, you actually need to go fast. It's as if these guys are incapable. Really, you didn't be fair to him. Moves at a fair clip for an old guy.
When Higgins
is fucking a nightmare.
Nah, he's after a really slow start. I think he's no up to pace. He looked a bit wee bit slow to start, as I say at the very start. But he did get much better. But when Higgins is playing for the first time, he goes to get the rest and he says to Virgo, I thought you were going to help me with this. They'd obviously had a conversation, and but Virgo says, I'll only help you in the last game if you get through to the final. I don't help you in this. But they really should have had people helping them with the rest, because they've only got 30 seconds.
So Lynette eventually gets beat, right? The big Australian guy he's rotten. He just can't deal with it. He's so slow, crap. So she gets beat. And if you get knocked out in the first round, then you get to try and do the trick shot.
Virgo's trick shot.
Yeah, Virgo's trick. No, very impressive, was it, this trick shot?
Nah.
And the prize for the trick shot was a Polaroid camera, which she wins.
Yeah, she does.
And Jim Davidson says to her, when you take pictures of all what you get up to with Polaroid cameras, send some to us.
Mm-hmm.
BBC One, 8 p.m. or something at night. BBC One, 8 p.m. at night.
Shows you're fanny.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've watched a TV show for the past where the presenter's just basically gone, shows your fanny on the telly.
Jim Davidson then asks a question.
It was a better time, is what I was saying.
To ask a question in the next round about, I think it's about a mosquito. Is a male mosquito or a female mosquito that does the biting, or is it both of them? And the guy gets a question wrong. And Jim Davidson says, just the female, bigger mouth. It's all right. His wife's watching it in the house, watching on TV.
He also calls the Polaroid camera a hemorrhoid camera.
That's pretty good. His wife must be watching in the house going, I hope that cunt doesn't make it back home for the studio. I hope he goes right in the back of a lorry on the way home for the studio.
Which is probably always on the cards, considering how much coke he's probably got in his system.
Yeah. But however, as we're saying all this, the show's fun.
Good format. It's a good, as I say, it's a good idea for a show.
They get to pocket money, which is a fun round where it's like they ask you questions And he'd ask you 5 questions. If you get 5 questions right, the snooker player can remove 5 reds.
It was getting to me a wee bit how often Jim was giving the answers away and was giving stuff away. It kind of compromises the integrity.
I know, but it's just making sure there's time for the snooker. The snooker is the exciting bit. The snooker has never been said before, but the snooker's the exciting bit. Higgins is torture. He's torture on this show. He's so bad.
I'm sure the only thing he says, like to Jim, on the show is at the very end, he says, I'm overheating, keeping one of these on.
Yeah. But once his bow tie out.
He didn't seem up for it at all.
No.
Alex, thanks very much for coming. All right.
I'm overheating, keeping one of these things on.
That'll spin round in a minute, won't it? That's great. Mine looks like a vampire bat on me throat. Anyway, thanks very much, Alex Higgin.
At one point, I can't remember what the context was for this, but Jim Davidson says, he says that the lassie Lynette is also going to get one of the wee rotten trophies, but he says, I didn't want to excite her even more with that Polaroid camera. So he's obviously still she's left. He's still hanking about her with this Polaroid camera at this point later in the show. 8 p.m. at night, load of old grannies out in the audience watching.
You can win in the last segment a dishwasher. Oh, there was an earlier shot actually of Virgo while he was explaining something early in the show. It might have been the first snooker segment where in the shot you could see all the prizes for the last segment.
Right.
And I went, that's a mistake. Well, that's supposed to be. I could see like a camcorder on the dishwasher and stuff like that behind Virgo.
Yeah.
So they fucked up there because they told us what the prizes were and I already knew.
You should write alert.
Well, I maybe will.
You should phone them.
Oh, Virgo? Do I contact Virgo?
Yeah, dishwasher, hi-fi.
Date the races. I date the races.
Date the races. No. Genuinely, Ray Reardon playing this final round.
To be honest, I've written TBH. Very exciting.
I've written big capitals, engaged, shouted, yes! I actually shouted yes.
It became split second, didn't it?
It was an extremely exciting ending to the episode. And the guy won a fucking trip to Florida.
I know, trip to Disney World.
With his missus, as Ray Reardon displayed fantastic snooker abilities at the end and right to the last minute cleared it up. And I've written great show at the end here.
Ray, you've got 12 seconds, 11. Come on, Ray, 9 seconds.
It's there. No! Quickly, Ray! 2 seconds to go!
There was 10 series of this show. You can understand why. Format is fantastic. Endlessly repeatable. And Jim Davidson, to be fair to him, he shakes life into it. With another presenter, it could have been, I don't know.
It's a good format. I think you could have tried different options. I think when we looked at Stars in the Rise in the earlier episodes, that had like 3 presenters before they got to Mathew Kelly. So I think they could have shopped around a wee bit, to be honest.
I mean,
maybe he calms down and changes in later series, but in this he's fucking annoying and he's
offensive.
He's offensive and annoying.
More gentle. I'm trying to think if there's a more gentle, like if Bob Monkhouse had presented it, for example. You know, could it have been too gentle then? You know,
I still want a bit of funny. I mean, he's one of my favourite presenters anyway. I think him all the time. But Les Dawson.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. I'm starting to talk about like him. Just thinking about it. That would have been great, Les Dawson. Actually, it's just Jim Davidson. I think, you know, and I don't want any English listeners or viewers to take this the wrong way. I think the English like him. I think the English of that time. I don't think our audience who are English like him. I think their dads did. You know what I mean?
He comes from a certain time.
Yeah. He was, we've got to remember this was, so 1991 would have still been a conservative government, right? It would have been, you know, it was a Tory world, and I think he's in that area, and and to be fair to him, a cheeky chappy. You only have to look at his wives that he had. Good-looking woman. He could pull a good-looking woman. It's a cheeky chappy. He had the gift of the gab. He was cheeky. He was annoying. Like a lot of these guys, you know, who do well in life, who are a wee bit aggressive and a wee bit fucking annoying. 10 series. Christmas specials. A racist comedian, but who cleverly managed to hone his act into a fucking mainstream thing that gave us some great TV. I mean, he also presented the Generation Game as well, which was a massively mainstream show and was successful as well. So you go and give him his props. Let's give some props to Jim Davidson as well.
I feel really brave. Let's give our props to Jim Davidson.
Let's do it. Let's give some props to Jim Davidson as well, because you know what? Let's say this again. See this fucking kind of thing that he's doing in this show? It's no easy.
No, definitely no.
It's no easy. All he's thinking, he's not thinking about am I being annoying, am I being offensive? He's thinking, I need to say some part here to fill this gap. I need to say some part
I need to be
here.
the heartbeat of this.
Exactly. And that's us at the end of 1991. What a treat 1991 was. But again, like I said, Ryan, moving through the 90s, it's just going to get more and more exciting.
I know.
More and more exciting it's going to get as we move through the 90s.
Let's read out some stuff that we never mentioned then if we're leaving 1991.
Yeah.
What games? God Almighty, Ninja Turtles 3, Chuck Rock, Duke Nukem, Fatal Fury, Contra 3, Megaman 4, Super Mario World, Godz, Robocop 3. Oh my God, The Fisher King in the cinema. New Jack City.
You like The Fisher King, didn't you?
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's probably my favourite Gilliam film, I would imagine. Barton Fink came out. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, of course, that song came out that was in the charts for all eternity. Silence of the Lambs, JFK.
Silence of the Lambs was 91.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Out for Justice. Terminator 2, obviously, which we never... We need to get that in the next... You need to go to an alternative timeline, Guft have said, to see us talking about Terminator 2.
And we decided to do Highlander 2 instead of Terminator 2.
I know. That's what makes that show unique.
So, guys, remember, leave comments below. Let us know how you're getting yourself familiar with AI tools as we move forward into the AI future. Guft.
Don't resist. It's kind of pointless.
Guft have started calling us the Consylvania AI guys. That's what they say. No, the Consylvania AI guys are coming in for a meeting. How funny is that? We like that. Well, guys, we'll see you next time. Let's see a wee picture of Madonna before we go.
It'll be 1992 the next time you see us.
It'll be 1992 next time you see us. Let's leave you with a wee bit of Madonna.
She's beautiful.
And on the back, something else beautiful. Wee bit of Michael Bolton. Peace out.
Like and describe.
When you look at it from up here, you get an appreciation of our world is a beautiful place and we do need to take care of it.